Hello there, AP Psychology students. I'm going to start today by asking you to think back about little Albert. We talked about him during our last class. So as you might recall, in the little Albert study that John Watson did rather unethically, I might add, the UCS and the UCR, what had the natural reflexive stimulus-response relationship was the gong and the startle. What happened with what Watson did was he then paired the white rat with the gong. And what this created in little Albert, the conditioned response, was a fear of the white rat. So I want to use this example as I talk about basic processes in classical conditioning. First of all, the initial stage of learning is called acquisition. This depends on stimulus contiguity. In other words, the NS is usually presented just before the UCS. So the rat would be placed on little Albert, and then the gong would sound. And so little Albert makes this association between the rat and this thing that's going to startle him. All right. Now, what happened with the little Albert was generalization. Any stimulus similar to the white rat, anything furry, led to a similar CR of being afraid. Now, sometimes in classical conditioning, we have what's called discrimination. So a response is limited to the original CS alone. It does not generalize. In this case, this would be only being afraid of the white rat. When the CS is repeatedly presented without the UCS, so in other words, if the rat is presented without the gong over a period of time, little Albert's fear would be extinguished. This method is used in therapy. Let's say you got trapped in an elevator and you had a really, really bad experience and you developed claustrophobia, in fact, because of that elevator experience. Well, what a therapist would do then is try to make that fear response extinguished by having you take the elevator a number of times without getting trapped in the elevator. Of course, you'd have to have a reliable elevator, but that is the only way that you're going to really get rid of that fear of the elevator is just by taking it and knowing that you're not going to get stuck. Spontaneous recovery. Let's say that little Albert's fear of the white rat did become extinguished when he would be presented with the white rat and the gong again. The conditioned response is likely to reappear after it's been extinguished, and it might reoccur after even just one pairing of the CS and the UCS. Now, I just said a lot of terminology, so if you need to go back and listen and process it, please do that. What I'd like to talk about next is what I call classical conditioning in real life. There are 4 areas that we are primarily classically conditioned. One of these is enduring phobias. Let's say Nat gets in a car accident on Tracy Avenue. Now he avoids driving on Tracy Avenue. Okay, car accidents are naturally scary things. My daughter just had one. It was really scary. She went 360, her car was totaled. And sometimes what happens is people develop a fear of the place where the car accident occurred. So the UCS here is going to be the car accident, and the UCR is pain and fear. Now that person, they get to Tracy Avenue. Let's say they're taking 62 and they get off at Tracy and they're like, I can't do that. Tracy Avenue is too scary. I'm going to go to Gleason. So they avoid Tracy Avenue. So see if you can think of a phobia that you maybe have as a result of classical conditioning. The next thing is a taste aversion. Abdi got sick after eating tacos from the local taco store. Now he doesn't eat tacos anymore. Now, in this case, you're getting sick. You're probably vomiting. It's not very pleasant. In this case, the UCS could be one of 3 things. It could be that you have a food allergy. Perhaps he had fish tacos and he's allergic to fish. Maybe he had the stomach flu and, he threw up those tacos and it's kind of gross. Or maybe there was actually food poisoning and that's what caused him to be sick. The point with taste aversions is the UCS is going to be any of these things. The UCR is going to be just getting sick, right? Like vomiting, okay? The Conditioned stimulus here becomes the tacos in the case of Abdi. Abdi's not eating tacos anymore. The conditioned stimulus, the conditioned response is not eating tacos. So the CS is actually the tacos themselves, and the CR is avoiding tacos. Maybe even gets queasy at the smell of tacos. See if you can think of an example of a taste aversion. I'm going to talk about an emotional experience that is, for me, a result of a classical conditioned response. When I was a child, I grew up spending many weeks on the summer at my grandma and grandpa's cabin on Lake Minnetonka. Now, it was a very simple cabin. We didn't have indoor plumbing or anything. It wasn't anything like some of the places we see there now. But what was so special about my time with them was how much they loved me. And we just had so much fun there. And I was like a puppy, heading out to Grandma and Grandpa's cabin with my head, sticking out the window, smelling the lake. I swear I could smell it 2 miles away. Well, that smell really left an impression with me. Remember, smell goes straight to the limbic system, straight to the part of your brain that processes memories. And so now I go to Lake Minnetonka and I smell that earthy smell. And I just become nostalgic. I think about my grandparents and how lovely it was to spend time with them. So my UCS and UCR are my grandparents' love is the UCS, and the UCR is just feeling good, feeling happy. The neutral stimulus that became the conditioned stimulus is the smell of Lake Minnetonka, and the conditioned response is nostalgic feelings. Now this can go the other way as well for negative emotional experiences. Let's say that if your parent has a bad day, they're going to yell at you and they scare you. Like they make you feel really uncomfortable when they yell at you. And they've had a bad day when they slam the door when they get home. So you begin to associate your parents having a bad day and yelling at you with the slammed door. So the UCS in this case is your parents yelling at you. The UCR is discomfort. The conditioned stimulus is the door slamming, and the conditioned response is maybe for you to go hide in your room so that you don't have to deal with it. So emotional experiences can go either way with this one. They can be highly positive emotional experiences or highly negative or uncomfortable experience as well. People that suffer from PTSD oftentimes have a classically conditioned response to some kind of environmental stimuli that was around when the trauma occurred. It can even be something like the temperature or a particular spot. So there is definitely a component of classical conditioning in PTSD, and we'll talk more about that in another unit. And then the last one is drug cravings. You've maybe heard before that if you go through drug treatment, that you should not indeed hang out with the people or the friends that you had while you were taking the drugs. And the reason for this is very well understood. So let's take a drug like cocaine, which is very physically addicting. You go to treatment. You are completely no longer physically addicted to the drug. Then you go to your friend's house that you had done cocaine with. And even if there's not cocaine there, that link is so strong that you have with those friends that you're going to crave that cocaine again. Same is true. Alcohol, marijuana, any number of drugs that you maybe have a problem with. And it really is true that you might need to find some new friends or go to different places in order to really conquer your drug abuse problem. So I want you to really work on thinking about examples to classical conditioning, and that will be your assignment for today. Thank you very much. Goodbye.